Okay, hello and welcome to the webinar, Making Education Fun with NUITEQ and BenQ. So my name's Dan. I take care of B2B marketing activities here at BenQ Australia. So on behalf of the BenQ team, we really appreciate you being here today. Also, a big welcome to Brian and Jack from NUITEQ, who will be joining us throughout the webinar today. So before we go into the webinar, just a couple of agenda and housekeeping points. Let me just change the slide just quickly. Just going through a couple of the agenda points today. So first of all, just coming up, we'll have a presentation from our special guest from NUITEQ based on the Snowflake software. Then we'll do a quick demo of the Snowflake software on the new RP02 IFP series here in our office. After that, we'll have Sanjay, our business manager for ANZ at BenQ Australia, to go through some of the finer points about the hardware and software bundling. And then we'll have a Q&A session where you'll be able to answer ask all your questions to both the NUITEQ and the BenQ Australia team. So please feel free to add your questions at the bottom of the screen in the Q&A box at any time throughout the webinar, and we'll come back to you at the end. So let's hop into it. So earlier in 2020, BenQ Australia and NUITEQ embarked on an exciting partnership to bring a whole new world of education and learning capabilities to the BenQ Interactive Flat Panel. So NUITEQ's Snowflake is an educational software that brings interactivity to your school and increases collaboration in the classroom and in remote learning settings. Designed to empower smarter human interaction, Snowflake helps students gain skills needed for future jobs and empowers teachers with curriculum-aligned teaching resources. So NUITEQ Snowflake is the perfect STEM companion for the BenQ Interactive Flat Panel, creating a perfect, powerful, all-in-one education solution that teachers can create, plan, and deliver lessons, all while harnessing the flexibility and efficiency of collaboration. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jack Reed. Jack is the VP of Customer Experience at NUITEQ, and he's here to introduce the Snowflake software and outline some of the great features. So welcome, Jack. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So thank you everyone for joining us and listening to us talk a little bit about what is exciting that's coming up with Snowflake. I'll spend a few minutes going over Snowflake with you. And again, at the end, be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I would like to start off by just letting you know a little bit about my background. So I started in education in Washington, D.C. public schools and spent about 25 years in school systems where I worked in schools on the teaching side and then moved up through administration. I was an administrator, principal in a middle school just outside of Washington, D.C., where we had 54 languages spoken in my school, and English was the #3 most common language. I then went into Broward County Public Schools, which is in Florida, where I was a district administrator, and I had a team of about 775 employees there, over 350,000 students in 342 schools. So I've run the gamut of education. My position in Broward was the coordinator of instruction, intervention, and school counseling. And then I left and worked with academic interventions as a consultant with an ed tech company, and have been in ed tech for about 10 years, 11 years now, and joined NUITEQ about a year and a half ago. So just if you have any questions from the ed tech part of it or from the education part of it, be happy to talk about that afterwards. I'm going to start out by sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to go through a PowerPoint to just give you a little bit of an information about Snowflake. So as was said a moment ago, Snowflake is made by NUITEQ, and NUITEQ actually stands for Natural User Interface Technology. So the cool thing about Snowflake and about the way that we design our software is that we do it so that it's natural and it's very user-friendly. Students are used to using their smartphones, their tablets, and our software is designed to operate just as that. We have multiple points of touch, which enables a lot of engagement and collaboration. So you can bring students to the front. You can have students work from devices at their tables and use the flat panel at the front as a front of the classroom display. You can do all kinds of things with collaborative work around the panel. NUITEQ Snowflake is an educational software that brings interactivity to schools, and we're good for the classroom and for remote learning. The Snowflake app can be used on large format screens in the front of the classroom and for direct instruction. One of the coolest things about Snowflake is the fact that we are able to divide into zones. So when you have an interactive panel at the front of the classroom and you have one zone, it's difficult to think about how you would collaborate with that. With Snowflake, you're able to divide into zones and allow for different applications to open up in different windows. So if you look at this slide, you'll see an example of 1, 2, 4 zones. Zones is a tabletop. And then under that, you'll see other configurations. We have actually 8 preset zones with templates so that you can adjust the way that you lay out the screen. The zones are also able to be resized. So you can resize your zones according to what you need in your classroom. The good thing for a teacher is if you are coming in and you're wanting to plan, and say in the top zone, you want to divide into 3. In the top zone, you have a whiteboard open with instructions, and at the bottom you have an app open. If you use National Geographic or Discovery or whatever, that can be in one. And then another, a Snowflake lesson activity, where you can have different Snowflake lesson activities open in all of them. But a teacher can preset these and save them. And instead of having to come in and set something up at the beginning of a class, they can come in and have those preset zones open up and have everything planned out ahead of time so that it makes their instructional day a little bit easier. Another feature is we have an ability for teachers, our educators, to favorite their work. So they go in and they find a lesson activity that they like, they just push it as a favorite, and it shows up on the app on the screen under favorites. Again, that's great for pre-planning because at that point, you don't have to go into the community and start searching for things that you're wanting to use that day. You already have them on your screen as a favorite. You can unfavorite them, put things up for the next day or plan your week out, however you want to do it. But it makes it a much easier, user-friendly environment to have those favorites there. And then bookmarks. So bookmarks to me are another exciting part of this. So as an educator, I can tell you that if I was going through a school and I was observing my teachers and I saw them using the same thing all the time, I would be a little upset with them. And I would ask them to try and use different things, use different activities, use different software so that students don't become bored with the same thing over and over and over again. And so with the bookmarks, the person that has the software can put anything in there that they want. So if there's Discovery Ed that you're using, National Geographic, if you have a digital textbook provider, those can go into that bookmark and you don't have to leave Snowflake to launch into those. They go in automatically. And that is just an amazing way to save time and stay within the software platform and go out to those other things that you need to use during your class period. So what we've talked about so far are features of the app that is on the interactive panel. We also have a web version called snowflake.live, and that web version has a number of other utilities that cannot be accessed on the panel. So for instance, you're able to build classes, review student progress, have lesson activities and polls that you build online. The other thing that's really good is if you can imagine trying to build your lesson while you're standing up at a panel with your fingers punching into a keyboard, it can be a little bit frustrating. Because of the web version, you can sit at home on a Sunday afternoon with a glass of wine and build whatever lesson activities that you want to build from your laptop. They automatically sync to the board when you go in and open your board up the next day. Everything that you've done on your online account from home or from Starbucks or from a park will sync straight into the app on your board when you log in your classroom. It's accessible anywhere on any web-enabled device. So iPad, tablets, smartphones, Chromebooks, anything with a touch screen or a mouse, you can use the web version. In the web version and in the app itself, we have over 100,000 engaging interactive lesson activities in our community. So teachers can play those, edit them, and send them to the students as assignments if they would like. They can choose to grade them, or they can choose to use them as practice. The lesson activities from Snowflake Web, again, automatically sync into the app when you get home. The Snowflake Community. So the Snowflake Community is where all of our lesson activities live. And the way that we've set it up is so that teachers can go in and they can search by these categories that you see here, or they can search by standards. So in Australia, you have your standards from foundation year throughout graduation. Those are loaded into the system. You can go in, and if you know your standard, you can search for keywords from the standards and bring those up, and any lesson activity that's aligned to them will be there. In addition, if you just want to search by age group, you can search by lesson activity types, by subject, and by different countries if you would choose. And then you see the last column there is called Everyone. We actually have a drop-down menu there that would allow you to search by NUITEQ teachers. So we have a content development team of curriculum and instructional designers, and they build lesson activity content that is aligned to your standards. If you choose NUITEQ teachers as your drop-down menu, only the stuff that has been built by NUITEQ will come up. So you know that it's been through a rubric and it's gone through a juried process to make sure that it's of quality to get in and that it's aligned to your standards. When you're coming in and searching by standards, you would look exactly like this. So you'd choose Australia, English, grade, whatever it is that you're looking for, and all of those that would come up and tell you exactly what standard in that grade so that you could choose that activity. Then we have a section called My Lesson Activities. I kind of think of this as my private Snowflake community. So this is what is in my account. It's not in the community necessarily. It's just what I can see. So if I want to build a lesson activity, I build it in my lesson activities. I can choose at that point to share it out into the greater community, or I can choose to keep it private or just share it privately to certain groups that are limited. So if I want to have a group of teachers that I'm working with and invite them to my group, we can collaborate on different lesson activities only within our group before we share it to the main community. From here, I can share to my students, I can share to the community, and I can create playlists of activities. And with those playlists, I can include not only lesson activities, but PDFs and audio files. I can also organize groups from here. And if I organize those groups and I'm thinking that I want to provide differentiation within my classroom, I can actually build groups for scaffolded lessons that will help the students that are struggling, for enrichment activities for they're helping the students that are advanced, and then for the mainstream main group of activities. So I can do all of this from my lesson activities. Creating a lesson activity is easy, and I'll show you how to do one quickly in just a moment. And I will tell you, honestly, I have not planned one, so I'm going to do it on the fly, just as you would if you're a teacher. Part of that is because I just found out I was going to be doing it a little while ago, so it's definitely going to be on the fly, but you'll see how easy it is to do. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story. I was working with someone as a consultant, helping them look for different software. And I was just doing a search and I found Snowflake and downloaded it. And I downloaded it and built a lesson within 10 minutes of downloading it with no training. And when I was able to do that, and I thought, I am not the most advanced person doing this in the world. If I can do this in 10 minutes, this is great. And I contacted Snowflake or NUITEQ, and that's how I began my relationship with NUITEQ, all because it was so simple and so fast to build a lesson activity. So here you come into building a lesson activity. You can choose from 16 templates. As you can see, all of them can be used as practice. 8 of them can be used as assessments. In addition, many of the lesson activities have corresponding templates, which means that if I build something in bugs, there is another lesson activity that I can edit, change lesson activity type. It'll take all the content that I've put into bugs and transfer it to that other lesson activity type to provide a number of different ways to present the same type of information so students don't get bored. And we provide little cheat sheets on all of this of what corresponds to what, so nobody has to wonder. But again, 16 different activity types, 8 of them can be used as assessment, all of them can be used as practice. You can customize lesson activities with the questions by adding different backgrounds and adding audio. So if you didn't really want an answer and you wanted picture or you wanted audio, you can do that to have students use to answer and show mastery of content. You can change design elements, including font, background, the rules of playing the game, And you can add in YouTube videos, you can add in PDFs and web links and any academic standards. The thing that is really good about that is if you're familiar with Universal Design for Learning, which is a framework of curriculum instruction, it says that we need to build curriculum that is accessible to all students. Just as we would build a building with a ramp going into that building, it's built specifically probably for somebody in a wheelchair, but it also helps somebody with a bicycle, a mother with pushing a stroller, or anyone else that needs to get in and have access to that building. When we build curriculum, we do the same thing by allowing students to receive information, receive content through text, through audio, through video, through graphics, and then also to demonstrate their mastery of their content by possibly even building a Snowflake lesson activity using those same type of things to show mastery of content. So they can do that, and you can add in YouTubes and videos and web links to go anywhere you want into your lesson activity. The classes in Snowflake Web, you can create your classroom. So we have single sign-on using ClassLink, Clever, Google Classroom. You can also use CSV files or do manual entry if you would like. You can build your classes, and in that, once you have your classes built, you can review student progress on lesson activities, including percentage scores, the amount of time they have on task, and individual questions. So you can look and see really where are their deficits and where do you need to reteach and provide support for them. All of it can be exported into a CSV file. And a really cool feature that is new is teachers are able to give feedback, not only written feedback, but they can give audio and video feedback to their students. So it's a great feature in times where in the 2020, which has been a very odd year, where if we were doing anything remote, we could have actually given remote video feedback. If you're live in the classroom, the same thing. So you're allowed to let students have some feedback, and maybe if you want, let them redo and show what they've learned from that feedback. Snowflake Web also has the ability to do polls. So if I'm teaching and I want to check for understanding, I can send out a poll to see who's learned, who's not learned, what do I need to reteach, what have I done well, and where as a teacher do I think, oh, I may not have been clear here, let me reteach. These are really quick and easy to do on the fly, and they can include multiple choice responses, true and false. You can just text, you can have an image, a drawing, text over an image. So you could say, go out and take a picture of such and such to show me you understand this, and they can. The student can join the poll from anywhere. So if you're in your classroom and you have the QR code at the front, they can do the QR code, it joins them automatically, or they can just go to answer.it/whatever number, join in. So they can do it whether they're in the classroom with you or whether they're at home or at McDonald's or in a park and you're doing something, the poll can be joined from anywhere. Again, all of these results can export into a CSV file, but it's a great way for a teacher to check for understanding and understand what the students actually are getting from their instruction. So that is it for the slideshow. I do want to share a couple of other things with you though, that I think you will find interesting. And one is here. So here is an example of a lesson activity template. So every single lesson activity that the global content team builds will have this built into it. So teachers can come in and know that this lesson plan is done for them. So this one is done based on the USA, so it's a common core standard. When it's for Australia, it would have Australian standards in it. But you'll tell what grade level it is, the exact standard that you're covering, the objective for the day. We will tell you what prior knowledge the students need to know in order to learn the new material. We are providing you with an outline of what all the new material is, exactly how you play the lesson activity that we've built, how to do it in whole group instruction or how to do it with independent practice or assessment. And then we actually give you ideas of how to use it with differentiation activities. So if you have students that are struggling or a little far behind, we tell you how to use scaffolded materials. And for those students that are advanced, what to do to accelerate the lesson. We tell you all the vocabulary that is needed in the new lessons that we're teaching. And we actually give links to other activities that are other supporting materials that we built. So a graphic organizer, a note-taking template. Here we've actually linked to an open source textbook that covers the material, and we provide all of this, and then follow-up activities. In addition, if there are any other Snowflake activities that are in the community, we tell you what those are that are related to it. So for every single lesson activity that we're building, we are building that lesson plan template into it. So a teacher doesn't have to think about what is my lesson plan for the day. We're providing it for them. So mid next year, we're going to have that available for your teachers for Australia, for math, science, and English. And that will be around mid next year for each standard. And what we're using is here. So we're actually going through your standards. These will all be in Snowflake, and we're building to these standards. We will tag them according to your standards. And then all you have to do is go in and search for them. You'll get that lesson plan activity template and the lesson activities that go along with it. So it was a quick overview. It's something I normally take probably 8 hours when I'm doing training, but I tried to do it in 20 minutes. So I hope it was a good overview for you.
So Jack, if you can just quickly go in and mock up a lesson, if it's easy
sure.
for you to do.
Yes, sorry about that.
We know it is, so we want to see how quickly you can do it.
Okay, just 1 second. Let me open a...
Sanjay, while Jack's getting that ready, we saw a lot of the back end of Snowflake, what Jack just went through. Yep. So next we're going to go through what it looks like on the RP panel.
Yeah.
Yep. So the interface is a little bit different, which everyone will see.
Sure. So what Jack is going through is Snowflake Live, which is the web-based version, and that's where teachers will create their lesson activities. And this is great for blended learning, and if teachers are doing learning from home for the students. But then once you get onto the panel, it's a different user interface and it's more user friendly. So which we'll go through.
Which we'll see after Jack creates his lesson.
Okay, so can you see my desktop?
We can.
Okay, so I'm going to go and create a lesson, and I am located in Dorado, Puerto Rico. So I'm that's where I am right now. That's where I live. So I'm going to do a lesson on Puerto Rico for you. So we go here, I'm going to create a lesson activity. I choose lesson activity. I am going to do an arrange lesson activity. So the arrange lesson, you can put things in order. You can create a timeline. If you want to do World War, what are the process of events in the World War, however you want to use it. But what we're going to do here is arrange pueblos in order from San Juan to the west. Okay, so pueblos are our towns. So arrange each of your towns from San Juan to the west. So the first one out would be Cataño, and then Toa Baja, then Dorado, then what comes next? Vega Alta. Okay, so I'm putting in order, but I don't want it to be boring. So I'm going to go through and do a browse. I spelled Cataño wrong. So hold on 1 second. Well, my computer is going not so quick. Okay, so one of the beauties of living in Puerto Rico is sometimes not having great internet. So I apologize. I'm not going to put a background in, but I'm wondering, are you guys actually seeing what's going on? Is my internet working at all for you? Okay.
And don't worry, our internet is terrible here at the office, and we're in Sydney, Australia. So don't feel so bad.
Well, we actually have some severe infrastructure issues in the island, and usually about 3 times a week lose electricity. So I'm just happy that's lasted for tonight. So you can go in, it'll do a search if you have internet that's fast enough to do it. For some reason, mine's not. And then what you do here is you can customize your content. So if I wanted to rearrange the order, if I typed them wrong and Toa Baja actually went there, I could move it and rearrange the order. But I actually typed it in the right order, so we're okay there. you go up here and you give it a name, and it would be Geography Puerto Rico. You type your lesson activity in. Okay, if I wanted to add screenshots, I could. If I want to do a YouTube search, let's see if my computer will let me do that. There we go. So we can add this YouTube video in. So that's already added in without me doing anything else. If I wanted to only do part of it, I'd say, you know, I don't want to show the whole video. So I'm going to start it at 45 seconds, and I'm going to end it at 1 minute and 20 seconds. Then it will cut off the rest of it and just show that. Choose whatever age group I want, whatever subject it is. Whoops. So we go to geography. We'll make it for all countries. If I wanted to add a PDF, I would do that here. Any web link. So I could say, if I had a National Geographic web link that I wanted to put in, I add that here and do www.natgeo.org, I believe. And then any keywords down here. So I could say Puerto Rico, map, geography, whatever else I wanted to put. And whatever standards I wanted to add here, I would just click down on the standards and add them. And they come up in a window and I would search for them. All of this saves automatically, and I cannot type very well, apparently. Either you can choose here whether you want to see all this information ahead of the activity or not. You can also do the same for the video. So do I want the video to play before the lesson activity or not? Over here, you can see where you have a preview of it. I can come in here and change the text size that I want to see. I could add a different background if I wanted to. Let me go a little bit smaller so they show up. And you can shadow, not shadow, however you choose to do it. And if you wanted to put a timer on it, you could. Okay, so I'm going to push play. And again, my speedy internet is taking a while to load your YouTube video. So it's going to start with the YouTube video at the time that I started it.
Americans are U.S. citizens. English is widely spoken. And the U.S. dollar is the official currency. And no,
I'm not going to make you watch the video. And then you would go here and you would just put in order. So the first one, Catano. So it's showing me I'm right. And if I said, oh, Dorado's next, no, that's not right. So I would know it's not right. Baja. Okay, and I did it. So it was actually that fast for me to go in and build that lesson activity. So you saw the entire lesson activity built in just a couple of minutes, even with my inability to have good internet access.
Perfect. Thanks. Thank you so much, Jack. I'm just going to walk over to the panel now. So I'm going to move over to the new RP series interactive flat panel. I'll just start sharing the screen. All right, you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so we're on the Windows OPS slot-in PC here with Snowflake loaded up. So we're going to double-click on the NUITEQ Snowflake application. Wait for that to come up. Again, we have slow internet here as well. Yep. All right. All right. So with to have Snowflake working on the RP series, it does need a OPS slot-in PC with it loaded onto Windows.
Or your external PC.
Let me turn on your mic. Yep,
Not only OPS, you can have your external PC connected as well. So, but OPS makes it seamless experience. You don't need to have cables. Whereas if you're having an additional PC, then you need a touch cable, you need a HDMI cable and a power cable. So OPS gives you a seamless experience.
Okay. While I work this out, Sanjay, do you want to go through the next part of the webinar?
Sure.
So opening up
while it's loading, so I'll go through. First of all, I would like to thank Jack and Brian. They have joined us from Puerto Rico and Sweden. It's quite late for them. And thank you for helping us out with knowing about Snowflake software. It's a great software. Thanks, Jack. We would also like to thank every participant who joined and given us a time. So we are very excited to partner with Snowflake, and the way we want to go ahead in the market from our operation point of view, we would like to offer this Snowflake software as a support with sales with our panels. So currently we're doing project-based, but we are also looking at doing a standard from next year, and we will give you more information when it's live and for more in next year. But for now, if you have a project and you think software, Snowflake software will be can help you out close the deal, just let us know and we can support you with the software. We do have some licenses, and then thanks to Snowflake again, Brian, who helped us with a perpetual license, unlike many other companies who does charge for the license every year. So with Snowflake, you only have a perpetual license, so you don't need to renew it. So if BenQ is giving you as a support and without a charge, it's a no cost to a end customer, no cost to a school. So they can have it, and each license allows one panel license, which is your user interface, Snowflake user interface app on the panel, touch panel, and 6 teachers access to Snowflake live software on their own devices. So basically each license is 1 license to the panel and 6 licenses to the teacher. So if a school goes ahead with 5 panels and they get 5 Snowflake licenses from BenQ, then they will be entitled to 5 licenses for the panel, but 30 teachers access on Snowflake Live. So number of panels into 6 times for teachers for the logins on the web version, and 1 for the panel. And as Dan mentioned earlier, you need, in order to get a seamless and good experience, you need a Windows machine connected to the touch panel. And it can be an OPS, or it can be a Windows mini PC or a small PC if the school already have it existing in the school and they don't want to go with an OPS. So we're not doing any hard bundles in terms of PCs, OPS PCs. It's an extra optional, but Snowflake Live, you can use it even if the customer, the school doesn't want a PC option on the panel. And they don't want to spend it and they are on a budget, they can still get a Snowflake Live access for teachers to create lesson activities, and then they can use InstaShare to cast it onto the BenQ panel, or they can use HDMI cable hardwired to connect to the panel. I'll let Dan, just about to call you Joy. I'll let Dan show you the interface on the panel, how Snowflake app works on the panel and how it looks. So I'll pass it on to Dan. He's going to share the screen.
All right. So just very, very quickly, I know we're running a little bit low on time. So can you see that there, Sanjay?
Yep, we can see that.
Yep. All right, so this is the interface for Snowflake on Windows. As you can see, it's actually encapsulating the whole screen there. So it doesn't have a minimize button or a close button. So what's great about that is that once you load up Snowflake onto the panel, it pretty much is your own kiosk. And if a student come up to the board or a teacher accidentally hits the wrong button, it's not going to close down or exit the actual program itself. So all about actually another point on that, there is still the tabs which you can't see on the stream. There's still the tabs for the RP series on either side, which will bring up the home button, the multitasking, the annotation, and the easy write, they are still there, but they can actually be turned off in the settings if you would like them to be turned off.
And just before you go into the interface, as you guys would have noticed, there was a software update pop-up came in. So NUITEQ keeps working on upgrading this software, and the software updates come every 3 to 6 months. So if there is one, it will, whenever you turn on into the app, it will give you a notification that you got an update. So just a good thing that it's not one-off thing. They keep adding things onto it, and it's a future-proof solution.
Yeah, so be mindful. We haven't updated ours, but I think it was going to the
it's a 7.2 version, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jack. It's 7.2.2, the recent version now.
Yeah, we got the nod from Jack. Sure. Okay, so we've gone through the interface takes up the whole panel. If you do want to exit, you can use either of the little Q symbols in the bottom left and the bottom right hand corner. So I'll just bring those up. That'll bring up the menu, and then you've got exit Snowflake. But other than that, it won't actually minimize down or close down unless you physically do that. So first of all, when you log in, you've come up to your tools screen. So tools is probably one of the most important things that a teacher will use, basically because number one will go into the lesson activities. So this will go into the Snowflake Live. So you can see at the top left-hand corner, Sanjay is logged in to his account there. So what this does is it will access all of his activities and lessons that he's created in snowflake.live. And then down the left-hand side, you'll see the lesson activities and the My List. So there's probably nothing in there at the moment as far as My Lists, because Sanjay hasn't put anything in there. But we've got My Lesson activities, and we can either play them directly through there, or like Jack said, we can favorite them and put them onto the home screen for later. So if we go back to the activities, so then we've got the search bar at the top, which will give you the option to go through verified by NUITEQ or created by teachers elsewhere. And then you'll be able to load them directly onto the panel and start using them. So if we go to something like the Romeo and Juliet, we just tap into that. That was created by Danielle Macklin from NUITEQ. Press play, and essentially it downloads it, and it will activate it pretty much straight away, and you can start the lesson. Again, network dependent. So here you should be able to see it's full motion. We've got a few of the little sticky notes here based on the Romeo and Juliet story. I'm not super familiar with it, so I won't try to solve this one. Once you're done there, you can go across and hit the exit or close app. While we're in here, we'll just look at it actually has a customized options panel that can come up over the top of the app. So depending on what app it is or what lesson it is, you'll get a different set of options on this left-hand panel when it pops open. So you've got your screenshot, which will take, if we do that, we'd take a screenshot of that. If you want to save that for later, that's saved on the local storage. Also, you've got your edit, go back to lesson home. You've got a few different other ones like restart. So if you wanted to restart the whole lesson, you can do that straight away from there. Also, there's the built-in standard options there, which are overarching across the whole of the interface through Snowflake. So if we close this app, we'll just go back. It'll go back to our lessons.
Can you close this app as well?
Yep. So once that syncs, it'll close down. All right. So that's how to bring up the lesson if you want to use that within the classroom. So the next one is Whiteboard. So as we all know that we have a really great whiteboard called Easy Write on the RP series. So if you want an alternative to that whiteboard, there's a really great whiteboard inside of Snowflake as well. So we've got the same type of annotation tools. We've got the different markers. We've got the different colors, and pretty much just a very standard but very powerful whiteboard as well. You
can bring the lesson activities into the whiteboard.
Yes.
As well.
So if you bring in the media or lesson activities from the media tab down the bottom here.
Do you want to bring one?
Yep, I can bring one in. So we can bring the
one which we saved previously.
Yes, it was on the desktop.
Yep.
This one
in downloads, actually. It should
downloads.
Uh,
Was it? No, I think we may have taken it off.
yeah.
That's okay.
You can bring any PDF, you can bring any PowerPoint, you can
So
bring,
so if we bring
anything and everything and then you can start annotating on it.
So say if we bring, we'll bring this one in.
Yeah. So, and that's a
resize.
PowerPoint. You can pinch in, pinch
and
out.
zoom. And then also down the bottom, we've got the tabs where you can actually tab across. Because it is a PDF and you want to look at the other pages, you can go across with these buttons here as well.
And then you can pinch out and then park it somewhere to use.
Park it up the top and then you can use it again later.
Yeah. And you can include the videos and everything else as well if you got that saved locally.
Yes, video content, still content, and also lessons as well. So there's also some tools like your calculator,
scales and geometry stuff.
Yeah, got a measuring tool. There's a few other ones. If you want to add another screen, so then you can go back and forward between your two whiteboard slides.
Just similar to what you can do on Easy Ride.
Very similar. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically the function of the whiteboard.
Yep.
So again, going to the bottom left-hand corner or the right-hand corner, either taking a screenshot or closing the app. So the next one, just quickly, media, looking at the
Features,
local storage.
Stuff. Yep.
Just quickly bring that one up and then close it back down again.
So you can.
All right, so that's auto playing from our media based on where we've got it loaded up. So this is folder 1 with 11 different files. So that's got a few different things. That's from a previous webinar that we did. So we'll close that app down.
I want you to bring zones.
Yes, so definitely we'll bring up zones. So zones is really good because there's so many great apps that work together. So a whiteboard and a lesson, or 2 different lessons side by side, a browser and a lesson. There's so many different ways to do it. So if we did the standard sort of structure with the dual zone, then you can go ahead and open up your Google Docs and you can open up your lesson activities at the same time and find what you need to find, and also annotate on them or manipulate them independently. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's 2 queues, 2 NUITEQ queues in each of the corner of each window. So again, you can click on the settings bar and close the app or manipulate the app from there. So they're all independently, they independently work with each other. So there we go, we've got a side-by-side view there.
It works similar to your dual windows functionality. The great advantage of this is that you can have up to 4, or you can customize your own layout. So if you don't want 2 dual windows, you can have up to 4. Also, you can rotate and you can have different layouts, and you can customize this as well. So
let me go back to zones, and we can even do
this one. So you got 4 zones, so you can utilize the screen in more efficiently,
or independently.
You can have multiple participants working on it, and then you can close, rotate.
So if we go back to zones, we want to go back to home, and it brings back to the one screen.
Yep.
So one that Sanjay and I probably not smart enough to really understand yet. I'm sure the students will be much smarter than us. This is Nodes, which is a mind mapping tool.
Correct.
Jack, do you mind jumping in and if you know about this one, just to give us a quick overview on it?
Sure. So Nodes is a mapping tool, a mind mapping tool. It can be used if you wanted to assign a project as a planning tool for students. Also, from a teacher perspective, it can be used to plan lessons or units, or even an entire curriculum map for a year. So you can embed videos in here. You can embed all kinds of stuff in each of these little nodes. And if you click on the nodes, you can grow another node from there. So it's just when you're wanting your students to learn organization and mind mapping and planning, you could assign this. If you're a teacher and you wanted to use it to plan out a unit, you could do the same with that.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. That makes it a little bit easier. But obviously, after going through this, we're doing it very, very quickly. And there's so much more to Snowflake software than what I could go through today, and also what Jack's gone through. So we'll let everybody know on how they can get more information about the software and more of the training modules as well, so that they can help to get you up to speed with Snowflake very quickly. So we'll exit that app as well. So we might move on to swipe across. So we've got bottom is the browser, which is quite standard. So then we've got bookmarks. So these are bookmarks from the browser or different apps, bookmarking, what Jack mentioned earlier in his presentation. We've got some STEM tools. So something like if we go into the clock app or the clock lesson, I'll make it easy because I'm not the best. So just pretty much bringing around the clock. And there we go, woohoo, I got it right. So that's that one. There's a few different ones. There's a Sudoku, there's squares, there's a numbers game as well. We'll just quickly go into the numbers game. Multiplication, subtraction, addition, and very, very interactive, as you can see. So they're dragging the balloons around. All right, so closing down the app again. Coming across the miscellaneous. So these ones don't necessarily fit into STEM, but they're sort of fun games. They might be help pass the time or help collaboration activities. So something like piano, for instance, it'll bring up a whole digital piano to help students practicing their notes and stuff like that based on their music classes. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but that's playing the notes. Exit the app again. We've got things like geography. So this is really, really powerful, just as an overall idea on how to get the students better accustomed to the world and countries in the world. So we've got categories. We've got different types of games through here as well. So we'll close that one down, and we're pretty much done here. This is also bookmarks here as well. And then we're back to the tools. So we might just stop sharing that one and we'll go back.
Thanks, Dan.
Let me get... All right. Okay, back in. I'm not sure how that audio sounded, but...
No, it was good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much to Jack for that presentation, and thank you, Sanjay. Do you want to add any more about... based on anything to do with the bundles or the
looking at the time, Dan, I think we'll leave that more offline, and we can speak to all our partners individually. So yeah, we'll just jump onto Q&A.
Jump onto the Q&A. Yep. So we had a couple of questions. So we had a question about will email info packs be sent out to the resellers? Yes, we'll touch base with resellers, and your BenQ representative will get in contact with you, or if you like to get in contact with them. All the materials are available from us, but also if they wanted to go to the NUITEQ website, Snowflake website, so it's nuitec.com/Snowflake, I believe, Jack.
Yep.
Where all the training materials and all the brochures are, but definitely get in contact with us because we have all those materials for you. And then another question. So Snowflake app will not work natively on the panel. So i.e. without an OPS or a PC attached.
Yes, that's right. In order to work on Android, you need to make sure, there is a separate app developed for Android. And currently any panels out there, they generally promote it with the Windows to get a seamless experience.
Yep. So
but as mentioned, if someone is not going for a PC option, then they can use a Snowflake Live as a teacher, create their lesson activities, and then use InstaShare to cast it on the screen and use it that way. Then they don't need a PC. That's an InstaShare BenQ app itself, or they can just hardwire through HDMI and plug a touch cable and use it as a touch monitor to use the Snowflake Live.
Yep. Well, I mean, if there's any more questions to come through, but I just wanted to ask Jack, you've been at NUITEQ for a little while. How long has Snowflake been able to be adapted to interactive technology like a BenQ IFP, for instance? And have you seen the development of that?
So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me.
So just I suppose,
let's pick.
I suppose just based on, say, Snowflake Live, where you would build the lesson and you connect maybe a screen with a HDMI cable, and it wouldn't be necessarily interactive. So what we've got here is the Snowflake software for Windows, which becomes a fully interactive platform. So where do you see, I suppose, where have you seen the benefits and the most positive changes once it becomes interactive?
So just having the interactivity increases engagement with students, because if you're looking at the models of technology integration and effective use of technology in classrooms, if you take something that's static and just put it on a board, it's just substitution. I'm taking a book and throwing it up on a board. If you start using interactivity and in bringing students to the board to touch and feel and become part of the learning experience, it causes them to use more critical thinking skills. It causes them to become more involved in it. The beauty with Snowflake and the development of Snowflake is that, and you were speaking of screencasting earlier, a student could be on a device on their phone, on a browser, and cast Snowflake up to your panel as well. So there's a number of different things that you can do when you start thinking outside of just the normal, what we think of when we're using apps and technology. The other thing that I think is super important is that we look at, when I was going through my lessons and I was creating a lesson, we look at allowing students to develop their own lessons to show that they've learned something, as opposed to they become creators of content as opposed to consumers of content, and then let them come into the panel and teach and bring other kids up and collaborate. And that's where the collaboration really becomes much more impactful learning experience.
One question I've got, Jack, and that question is basically, can you bring your Promethean Active Inspire session or smart session, smart book activities onto Snowflake software, and how will it work? Will it work the same way it works on the other panels?
So you can take Snowflake or Active Inspire, and you can take Smart Notebook, and you can export them into what essentially becomes a PDF file and upload those into lesson activities, and so that you don't lose your content. Most of those are built on Flash, so the Flash is going away anyway, but that Flash will not translate, but the content will stay with you, and you can then grow the content through some of the different lesson activity types.
Now that's great, because most of the schools who is already using Active Inspire or Smart Notebook, the reason they're not moving away from that old software is because they've got a lot of material which is already created in that software. So it's good if they can convert that into a PDF and then just can bring into Snowflake, and then just can get the newer experience with the Snowflake software.
You don't lose your content.
Yeah,
so your
no,
content
that's great.
is not lost, and you can build more functionality on top of it.
No, that's great.
This question for you, Sanjay.
Sure.
We're embarking on this partnership with NUITEQ because we really, like I mentioned before, it complements the BenQ IFP so well. It's a STEM companion. It's an all-in-one solution. How is Snowflake really propelling our product to the next level?
Look, it's a tricky question, so I don't want to say that look, the software we have with BenQ Easy Write InstaShare, it has its own, values and its own importance. But having what we were missing previously was lesson activities that we didn't had. That teachers were always asking us, how do we create lesson activities on with BenQ? So that's where we think we jumped one step ahead, and instead of reinventing the wheel, we thought we'll just partner with someone who is already, master of this and has created this software. Instead, bringing something and it takes years to us to come back with that kind of feature. So that's where we think it will add and complement BenQ solution. So you can use the BenQ solution out of the box, and once you have a Snowflake software, it's just give empowerment to the teachers to create those activities and use it on BenQ panels.
Exactly. Well, looks like there's no more questions. We're right on 11 a.m. here in Sydney, Australia, and it's probably about 1 a.m. over there for you in Puerto Rico, Jack. I know it's not quite 1 a.m., but so I just wanted to thank everybody so much for joining today's webinar. We've gone through everything very, very quickly, a very sort of blanketed overview of everything. Like I said, if you want to see some more training modules, videos, brochures, you can head to the NUITEQ.com/Snowflake website, or get in contact with us here at BenQ. So whether it be going through sending an email to bqausales@benq.com, or going to the website, clicking contact us, or obviously you should have your account manager or your BenQ representative on speed dial on your phone. So please just pick up the phone and give us a call or send us an email. We're happy to share all that. We'll also be in contact with Jack as well to get more information from NUITEQ headquarters. So right from the source. This webinar will be recorded and will be uploaded to the BenQ Australia YouTube channel. So just check in the next couple of days for that to come up if you'd like to share that with anybody else in your team or any of your customers. So please go ahead and do that. If you want some more information about BenQ IFP, you can go to the BenQ.com website or BenQ.com.au website and go to the business display tab on that site, and you can go into the education tab where you'll find all the interactive flat panels. So with that, thank you again to everyone. Thank you very much, Jack and Brian, for being here with us from NUITEQ, and everyone logging in. And thank you so much, Sanjay, for being here as well.
Thank you for hosting this, Dan.
And we'll see everybody on the next webinar.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Brian.
Good night.